For the next 60 seconds, I want you to count how many of these statements feel so true for you. You often get stuck analyzing decisions so thoroughly that you end up making no choice at all. You feel like an imposter despite clear evidence of your competence. You rarely finish projects because they never meet your impossibly high standards. If you related to even one of these patterns, you're experiencing what psychologists call the paradox of intelligence, where your mental strengths actually create barriers to your progress. Today, I'm breaking down why this happens to you and the exact steps you need to take to overcome it. Let's talk about the invisible wall. How does intelligence create a social distance in your life? Have you ever felt like you're speaking a different language than everyone else, even when you're using the very same words? You explain an idea that feels crystal clear in your mind, but to the person across sitting away from you and listening to you, they're just staring back with confusion. This isn't random. It's the first sign of what I call the invisible wall. When you process information differently than most people, you experience a communication gap that grows wider with each and every interaction. You see connections other people miss. You follow logical chains several steps beyond where others stop. Your mind naturally asks why and what if when others are satisfied with what and just how. This difference creates a painful paradox to the very mental abilities that could help you connect with others and end up usually pushing them away from you. Let me share with you what this looks like in everyday life. You bring up a topic that fascinates you in a social gathering only to watch every eye glaze over each second you speak. You share an insight which has completely captivated you for the last, let's say, several weeks. But then, when you try to share it, you receive polite nods followed by an immediate change of subject. You find yourself constantly simplifying your thoughts, cutting out nuances, dumbing it down, and holding back your natural enthusiasm just to maintain natural, basic conversation which appeals to the people around you. This happens because of fundamental differences in how your brain works. Research in cognitive psychology shows that variations in processing speed, abstract thinking ability, and pattern recognition create actual barriers to communication. Imagine trying to have a flowing conversation where you process information 3 times faster than the person you're talking to. By the time they form their response to your very first point, you're already mentally explored 5 different concepts and drawn to other conclusions in the meantime. Your mind naturally sees systems rather than isolated facts. You question assumptions while others accept statements or beliefs without much thought to it. You notice contradictions in what others say while they remain unaware of them. These cognitive differences make mutual understanding difficult, even when both sides genuinely want to connect. The most painful part is how others often misinterpret your natural thinking style. Your excitement about ideas gets mistaken for showing off. Your careful analysis looks like unnecessary complication. Your questions appear as challenges or someone looking for conflict or drama rather than mere curiosity for learning and to achieve new pieces of information and knowledge. Your need for precision comes across as pedantry, The very qualities that make your thinking valuable become social liabilities. The emotional toll this invisible wall finally results in is quite heavy. You experience the loneliness of having thoughts you can't fully share with most people because they just can't connect with you on them. You feel the exhaustion of constantly translating your natural style of thinking into something more accessible to the masses. You face the frustration of being misunderstood despite your very best efforts to communicate clearly. Many intelligent people gradually withdraw from social situations altogether, finding solitude less painful than constant misconnection or miscommunication. It's where the wires are crossed and it just doesn't connect well. What you don't realize is that this disconnect has neurological roots. Your brain has literally developed different neural pathways and connection patterns. Your default network activate in different sequences and intensities. The gap isn't just psychological, it's physiological. This isolation isn't your personal failing or a character flaw, it is a structural challenge that emerges when your cognitive landscape differs significantly from the statistical norm. Understanding this reality is actually the first step towards genuine connection. When you recognize that when you recognize that the communication gap comes from real differences in how your mind works, you can stop blaming yourself or others for the disconnect. But this invisible wall isn't just about how you think. It's also about what captures your attention and lights up your mind. The topics that fascinate you and the questions that keep you awake at night often differ dramatically from what engages most people around you. This creates another layer of separation that can make finding true intellectual companions even more challenging. So, what do we do when we have different worlds? When your interests and passions don't align with others? What happens when the topics that fascinate you put others to sleep, while the conversations that energize you leave most of the social gatherings feeling a bit empty? You know that moment when you bring up a subject that lights your mind on fire just to watch others' eyes dart away, searching for escape. This creates a second layer of social distance beyond just how you think. It's about what you think about. Many intelligent people naturally develop deep interests in areas few others care about. You might spend hours exploring philosophy, linguistic patterns, anthropology, or the intricate details of historical events. Meanwhile, the main majority of people around you focus on mainstream entertainment, local gossip, or concrete daily experiences. This isn't a value judgment, it's simply a difference in what activates different brains. This interest gap forces a painful choice. Do you pursue your authentic interests alone, finding joy in learning but missing human connection? Do you participate in more mainstream activities that don't truly engage you, feeling connected but intellectually unfulfilled? Many intelligent people oscillate between these options, never feeling fully satisfied with either. You likely experienced being the person who lights up complex systems or abstract ideas or frameworks, while others bond over just mere experiences. You start explaining a concept that fascinates you, perhaps the philosophical implications of quantum mechanics or the unexpected connections between seemingly unrelated historical events and how they impact in current modern day living, and watch as the energy drains from the conversation. Not because you're boring, but because your interests exist on another different reality from those around you. This interest gap often lead others to label you as a bit too intense, a bit too serious, or someone who overthinks things. When you're simply following your natural curiosity. What feels like normal intellectual exploration to you comes across as exhausting or pretentious to others. The truth is, your mind naturally craves depth in areas that many people find overwhelming or just unnecessary. Today's digital landscape actually makes division even worse. Social media and entertainment algorithms sort people into interest groups or even bubbles, let's say, showing us more of what we've already engaged with. So, if your passions are non mainstream, these systems narrow your exposure to potential connections while simultaneously reinforcing mainstream interests of others. So, you nearly kind of feel yourself pushed by the algorithm into the mainstream interest groupings, and as if it's kind of guiding you to say, why don't you watch this? Most of the others are watching this anyways. Why are you trying to be different? Just click play. It seems to be guiding you towards that box of a dumbed down version of a box of thinking, of a box of mass group thought, school of thought. The divide grows wider with each click. Another challenge is that intelligent people often prefer depth over breadth in their interests. While others might casually enjoy many different topics, you tend to go deep within a few areas which you feel matter the most. This intensity brings you joy, but also limits social connection opportunities. You know everything about a few subjects rather than a little about many, and giving you fewer conversation entry points in your casual social settings. After years of blank stares and changed subjects, many intelligent people begin hiding their true interests just to fit in. You learn to talk about the weather, the sports, or the popular shows, crafting a social persona that bears little resemblance to your authentic self. These connections feel hollow because they're built on performance rather than genuine exchange. You gain social acceptance, but lose the possibility of being truly known for who you are. Finding your intellectual tribe is a difficult thing, isn't it? People who share your level of curiosity and passion for deeper topics. Now, that is crucial for your authentic connection. This community may be much smaller or more geographically scattered than you'd like, but these connections will nourish you in ways that are more meaningful than superficial relationships can. One person who truly understands your interests and thinking style can end years of isolation. But even when you find people who think like you and share your interests, there's still another barrier that can keep you feeling isolated. That's the way your analytical mind processes social interaction and creates unique challenges that can undermine connections, even when you've found people who can share your intellectual wavelength, so to speak. So, how do you break free? How do you move from overthinking to authentic connection? Why do the very thinking skills that make you successful in work and education often sabotage your ability to form deep personal connections? Your analytical mind, so brilliant at solving problems and creating deep insights, can become your greatest liability or obstacle to meaningful relationships. You've likely experienced this already. You're in a conversation, and instead of being present, your mind just starts wandering away. It's racing through multiple interpretations of concepts, of what the other person might be thinking. You analyze their word choice, evaluate their tone, and generate several potential responses even before you speak. By the time you actually say something, the moment has passed, and your carefully crafted and curated response is awkward or out of sync. This creates a painful cycle. The more you analyze social interactions deeply, the less natural and present you are in the moment. Each awkward exchange confirms to you your kind of discomfort with many social situations, leading you to even probably analyze this even more, which doesn't really help, isn't it? You find yourself trapped in your head while genuine connections happen in the present moment, but you miss out on them. Many intelligent people use their intellect as a shield against emotional vulnerability. You might find it easier to discuss complex theories and patterns rather than share how you actually feel. You stick to fact analysis and intellectual discourse because they feel safer than exposing your hopes and expectations, fears and insecurities. Your brilliant mind becomes a fortress that protects you from rejection, but also prevents authentic connection. This protection comes with social perfectionism. You try to calculate the right thing to say in every situation, treating conversations like problems you need to solve than just mere experiences to share and enjoy. You perhaps rehearse responses, edit your thoughts, filter your authentic reactions. And this performance mentally transforms what should be a natural exchange into a draining, exhausting performance where you never feel that you can just be simply yourself. Consider how often analysis paralysis affects your relationships. You overthink potential outcomes so thoroughly that you avoid taking social risks altogether. Should you text that person? If you text them too much, will they think something of you? Invite someone to coffee? Or maybe they'll take it in the wrong way. Should I share a personal story? Would they think I'm oversharing? Your mind generates so many potential negative scenarios that doing nothing feels safer than doing anything at all. Each opportunity for connection passes by unacted upon while you remain stuck in analysis. Research shows that meaningful connection require two qualities. That analytical overthinking directly blocks presence and vulnerability. When your mind constantly runs interference, evaluating and judging each moment rather than experiencing it, you miss the subtle cues, emotional nuances, and spontaneous opportunities that create closeness between people. The constant mental processing make it nearly impossible to be spontaneous and genuine. Authentic connections happen in unguarded moments when you're fully present rather than mentally rehearsing your next line or analyzing the subtext of the last conversation you've just had. Your analytical strengths become relational weaknesses when applied to human connections. You might think the solution is to become less intelligent or analytical, or to just dumb down every conversation. But that, my friend, is not the answer. Instead, may I suggest that you need specific techniques to temporarily quiet your analytical mind in social situations. Now, this can create space for your equally valuable emotional intelligence to emerge in a natural, organic way. One effective approach combines mindfulness with brief cognitive breaks. Research shows that taking short 5 to 10-minute micro breaks every 90 minutes can help restore cognitive function and reduce overthinking. Rather than scrolling social media during these breaks, practice like these mindful meditation techniques or simply walking without any distractions to help calm your analytical machinery. When you learn to temporarily step back from constant analysis, you create room for more intuition and emotional awareness in your mental bandwidth and framework. You become a lot more able to notice feelings without immediately dissecting them. You can listen a bit more to others without simultaneously generating counter arguments as they are speaking. You can discover parts of yourself that have been overshadowed by your analytical strengths, qualities which were slightly pushed at the back, like empathy, spontaneity, and playfulness, that make connection a lot more enjoyable. Now that we understand the barriers, let's explore the practical steps you can take to transform isolation into meaningful connection for you, and to use your intelligence as a bridge rather than a wall between you and the others. So, we talk about building bridges. What would these practical steps look like to connect despite differences? What if you could use your intelligence as a bridge rather than a barrier to meaningful connection? Your analytical mind and deep thinking aren't just obstacles to overcome. They contain hidden social strengths that you've likely never recognized or harnessed to use. You possess unique qualities that can create connection, which is the ability to listen deeply, understand complex perspectives, and offer insights that others will always miss. Now, these are gifts. These are superhuman gifts. And these gifts remain buried under layers of social anxiety and past rejections. But they're waiting to be uncovered. Many of you feel an impossible choice between being your authentic intellectual self and finding social acceptance. You worry that to be welcomed by others, you must hide your true mind, pretend interested in topics that bore you, or simplify your thoughts beyond even your own recognition. That will be a sad state to lead your life, isn't it? This fear creates a painful split between your public and private self. The first step towards connections is finding your intellectual community, people who share your natural style and interests. Now, this doesn't mean isolating yourself with intellectual clones, it means establishing a home base of understanding that gives you the confidence to venture out. Look for specialized interest groups. Maybe they are online forums about topics you care about, or educational settings where curious minds similar to yours gather. They can either be physical, in person gathering or online community groups. Even one or two people who truly get you can transform your sense of belonging in the world. They become your tribe. You can also develop what psychologists call cognitive empathy, which is using your analytical skills to understand other people's perspectives and communication styles rather than expecting them to simply match and understand yours. Your intelligence gives you the capacity to build mental models of how different people process information instead of feeling frustrated when someone doesn't follow your reasoning. Get curious about how their mind works. What framework are they using? What values or experiences shape their perspective? This approach transforms differences from barriers into fascinating puzzles to solve. Another powerful technique is learning to translate complex ideas into accessible language without compromising your true essence. Now, this is not dumbing down, it's about clarifying. Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. So, practice breaking down your complex concepts into concrete examples which people can relate to. So use metaphors or step by step sequences or stories to convey your complex concepts or frameworks. This skill honors your authentic thinking while creating bridges which others can comfortably cross. You might also consider expanding your definition of intelligence. Your analytical strengths represent just one form of mental ability. Cultivate curiosity about emotional intelligence, which is about understanding feelings. Practical intelligence, which is about solving real world problems. And creative intelligence, which is about making unexpected connections. Now, each opens new pathways for connecting with different kinds of people while still enriching your own thinking. Research consistently shows that meaningful connection requires vulnerability from your side, sharing not just your thoughts, but about how you feel and experience. Now, this might feel especially challenging if you build your identity around your intellectual strength and resilience. Start small by acknowledging simple emotions during conversations. You can say something like, I was disappointed when that happened, or I felt excited and happy about this idea. That'll do for a start. These admissions create openings for others to connect with you as a complete person, not just your mind. Remember that connection doesn't require finding exact intellectual matches. Look for points of genuine, shared humanity beneath different thinking styles. Your neighbor might not understand quantum physics, but they do understand what it feels like to be fascinated by something, to struggle with a problem, or to experience wonder. Now, these emotional universals create bridges between vastly different minds and wavelengths. Many highly intelligent people discover the intelligence becomes a social asset rather than a liability when they use it to understand others rather than just impress them. Your analytical skills, your capacity for deep thinking, your attention to detail all become powerful tools to connect with others then. What in conclusion, your intelligence isn't a barrier to connection. It's a bridge, but it's just waiting to be built carefully. It needs to be built meaningfully. When you learn to direct your analytical strengths towards understanding others rather than impressing them, everything changes. This journey doesn't ask you to become someone else. It invites you to be fully yourself while creating pathways to understand different minds. As research shows, it's about finding the courage to be fully yourself while creating bridges to understand others. You aren't alone in this experience. Countless others search for the same depth of connection you crave for right now. And your unique perspective to life isn't something to hide, it's a gift that the right people will treasure. So I wish you the very best as you build this unique bridge, a life where you have a true, deep, meaningful connection with a tribe of your own, and where you're able to convey a social impact which lasts a long time after you're gone. Thank you.